Now it's time to head northwest to the massive dredge piles just north of Dayton. The world's largest dragline dredge, the California-based Dayton Dredging Company, went to work west of Dayton. The Nevada State Journal reported that the dragline dredge would tear up 20,000 tons of earth daily. Look at all this rounded river rock. Do you see it? And there's a big monker right there. Now what this is a gigantic sample cut. They dug out a huge trench which cuts across the old river channels that were flowing down off the mountains millions of years ago. But I see perfect spots up there to sample from because it takes a lot of water to move rocks that big. So that's where we're going to sample. We'll see what we got. And that's what you should be doing too if you see any of these old cuts from days gone by and you isolate the contact zones. It'll be obvious. I can see 3 contact zones right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample at the contact zones and then we're going to pan it out and see if we got anything. I don't know if you can see it. I've got a contact zone right there where that big rock is sitting. There's a contact zone. You see all the large rocks sitting right there, right along that plane, that bedding plane. The smaller stuff is down here below it. And then you got some cobbles, and then at the very top, you got another contact zone right about there. So I'm more interested in this one because it looks like it took a lot of water to move that. So I'm gonna get in there and sample what I can. Right there. Big old piece of magnetite. Look at the size of that monker. Man, that's heavy too. Wow, that's huge. It's a monster. All right, we'll take this and pan it because there's water holes everywhere out here. But I'm gonna show you the tailing piles that were left behind from the massive trommels they were running out here because it's just mind-boggling how much material they ran out here to get that gold. Look at this. This is all tailing piles from trommels that were running out here. These are massive piles and they go on for miles. Look at this. Isn't this something? These are all tailing piles from when they were running trommels out here. Just absolutely amazing.
My name's Kyle Bowers and it's about finding gold.
Yeah, okay, so we're out here showing the dredge piles. He pulls up and says, hey, I know you. I'm like, oh, from the post office? No, because he's been finding gold. Tell him what you've been doing.
Oh, I've been running the little $40 sluice and pulling out little pieces of gold, little nuggets.
He's finding gold. He's never found gold before, ain't that right?
No, it's the first place.
And he just put in a little tiny sluice, starts feeding it, boom, gold. That's what you should be doing. Get off that couch, stop eating the chip and drinking the beer. Get up here into these mountains because now is once in a lifetime because there's just rain and water everywhere, ain't that right?
Absolutely.
You got anything to add? You got any shout outs?
Just Jeff Williams.
Yeah!
He's the one that led me here.
Appreciate you stopping by and telling us your story.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you. And yeah, you're gonna get wet. Ugh, nasty. All right, remember what I taught you. You want to knead that material up in case there's any clay in there. Stratify, get the heavies to drop to the bottom. Break the rocks to the back if you don't have a classifier. Like that. If there's any gold, and the heavies will be at the front. Break those rocks to the back. Look at that. Beautiful. All right. See if my hole's deep enough. No jokes, I know what you said. Stop that. Come on, Nugget. All right, let's see what we got. I got plenty of black sand. All right. Try to get that shadow off of it for you. at that. Yeah, there's another. Oh, that's a big one. I'll get snapshots of this, but there's little tiny pieces in there. What I'm gonna do is I'll put a snapshot of this up because I can't get the GoPro down close enough without creating a shadow. So I'll get you some snapshots. It's really fine. There's about 20 little tiny pieces in there, but there is gold in that contact zone. So we're gonna work our way around up through these little washes and streams, see if we can find some more gold. But I'm not gonna do nothing until you smash that like button, smash it hard, or I'm just gonna sit here and drink this water. What do you think about that? All right, come on, let's go. By the spring of 1851, some 200 placer miners, including James Old Virginia Finney, were working in this area. The continuous occupation of Gold Canyon's mouth all the way up to the canyon makes this site Nevada's first non-Native American settlement. Dayton, also known as Chinatown, became a mineral milling, commercial, and agricultural center after prospectors and placer miners worked their way all the way up Gold Creek. In January of 1859, a rich discovery was made at the very head of Gold Canyon, which you're looking at now by James Fenimore and Henry T.P. Comstock, which gave the name to the Comstock Lode and started the town of Gold Hill. Here you're looking at downstream Gold Canyon as it filters all the way down to the dredge piles and of course into Dayton. A lot of gold can still be found in this area, but unfortunately most of it has been claimed up by the Comstock Mining Company, LLC. So if you do decide to go prospecting here, please check land status first before coming out here. But do keep in mind, there is plenty of gold still left behind. Ooh, this looks like a really good spot. Look at this. Nice. And you got water too. Oh, and I see a gravel bar. See that gravel bar right there? Water's come down here, deposited. Slowly having to work away that way and then around. He's just hanging out here, enjoying himself. Now when you're sampling these gravel bars, always look for the bigger rocks. Don't sample in flow sand. Remember, small rocks, small gold, big rocks, big gold. When sampling a gravel bar, always sample from the bench outward, looking for where potential pay layers can be. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. Right there. And I'll put up a snapshot of it at the end of the video. Where's that banjo at? I know that banjo's out here somewhere. if you're not familiar with this is the Yellow Jacket Mine. In 1869, April 7th, 35 miners lost their lives down below due to a fire that happened early in the morning. They're not exactly sure what happened, but they suspect that some of the electrical wiring caught fire because they used to use fabric insulators on the wiring. That spread to some timbers. Now, another theory is that a lantern tipped over and caught one of the timbers on fire. Regardless of what happened, 35 miners did lose their lives down in this shaft. You can see that they've actually sprayed concrete, like shotcrete, around it. The reason why is because they were worried that the head frame would catch fire because the fire had burned for so long. They had a heck of a time putting it out. So that's why you see that coated with the concrete. This is the original Yellow Jacket Mine, and just to the east they sunk another shaft called the Yellow Jacket East. And we'll go out there and see that in just a minute. Now I'm going to show you something that most people don't know. If you look at really old photographs, you'll see that this is a portal to the workings of the mine. It goes in and it connects to a whole series of underground workings that connects to this one. As you can see, they didn't want anybody in here, so they plugged it up. And they plugged it up really, really well. But this is one of the old original entrances into the mine. And if you look right here, see the track? You can see this original track from the 1870s in the photographs. And it goes in, like I said, it connects. Now, after the fire, they sealed this one up and they sunk another shaft up on the hill. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Now, an interesting side note about this particular area is that it's noted to be haunted. Now, I don't know if it's from the miners who lost their lives down below or not, but people who stay in these cabins, which you can rent, swear that there's hauntings going on here all the time. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube where people have actually seen things and heard things. And you can hear machinery running at night. But I wanted you to see this particular head frame because this was one of the key instrumental reasons why the Sutro Tunnel was dug, to create ventilation in the mines and an alternate way to get out. Now, it's hard to believe that there's a shaft here that goes down 3,000 feet, but there is. And the way that they plugged it is they took old cars and they shoved it into the shaft, and then they put dirt over the top of it.
On April 7, 1869, a careless miner left a candle burning on the wall of a timber some 900 feet deep in the mine, which eventually set fire to supporting timbers. This blaze started a chain reaction of disasters. One of the miners, Dunleavy, who was working on the 900-foot level at the time, was alerted to the catastrophe when he heard the distinctive crashing of falling rock. Debris filled the tunnels, forcing choking gas and dust into the Yellow Jacket and neighboring mines. Debris filled the tunnels, forcing choking gases and dust into the Yellow Jacket and neighboring Kentuck shafts. While running along the 900-foot level, Dunleavy spotted a wall of flame. As he raced toward the main shaft, he gave the signal for fire, but the crackling of the burning pine timbers was so loud that his warning shouts were drowned out. Through all the craziness, he heard the screams of miners on the levels below. Air pouring in through the Kentuck mine acted like a giant bellows and fanned the flames, and he began to choke on the fumes and dust. The roof collapsed around Dunleavy. He lay on the floor and pulled a heavy overcoat over himself. This act helped save his life. He was the sole survivor of the 9 miners on the 900-foot level. He slipped into unconsciousness and did not awaken until hours after he had been rescued. Miners risked their lives to save their co-workers, trying to rescue as many men as possible. They yanked the unconscious Dunleavy from the jaws of death. Later, when a cage filled with rescuers was descending past the 800-foot level, it was rocked by an explosion. The fire quickly spread to another neighboring shaft, the Crown Point mine. The morning was filled with stories of heroism and tragedy. Many miners had to be left behind, as the crowded cages were too full to pull them out. Some miners jumped to their deaths rather than suffocate or be burned alive. One man hanging on the cage had his head and arm removed by jagged timbers. Fighting the flames took weeks, and 70 miners reportedly perished fighting these flames. Many of the bodies remained in the deep where they had fallen, and Dunleavy was saved by his own quick thinking and by his brother miners.
Everything's still intact for the most part. I mean, some stuff has been taken out of here, but you got just about everything intact here. Wow. And of course the main shaft is right there. We're sitting on top of the main shaft, and I got an open stope. See this right here? That's an open stope. Ooh, maybe we can get inside, huh, sweetie? What are you doing? Poking your head through that little window. And you see all the breaker boxes here? These are the old style breaker boxes. And of course, looks like somebody was trying to harvest the copper. I don't know why they do that. Ooh, that just grinds my gears to see when people tear these old Westinghouse electric motors apart just to get a few dollars worth of copper. I mean, come on. That thing's over 100 years old and you tore it apart for what, 50 bucks? Wow, look at this. This is amazing. I really thought they had something bigger in here. This is absolutely amazing. And you can still smell that old oil in here too. It smells almost like creosote. All right, now I'm gonna show you what the controls do over here. Well, what's left of them. And man, I can't believe how small that single drum hoist is. I thought for sure it'd be a lot bigger than that. Because that head frame is massive. It's a monster. All right, now you see this thing right here? This right here is part of the clutch. When we pull on this lever, this is gonna push forward. You see that? And as it does so, it's gonna torque on this band. When that band torques on it, it's gonna connect the inner and outer ring together. So this is your clutch mechanism. And you can see where they put shims in here too. You see that? All right, so this guy comes over to here. Then he connects over to this jack shaft. This is the brake here, which would have been connected to this guy, which goes over here to this brake band. You see that brake band right there? It goes along the top. That's your brake band, and it connects to this guy. This is your clutch. And you can see where this used to be connected to him, but he's not connected. So that's all you really need. And this is your variable speed controller. There'd be a little knob right here. You can go forward and reverse. Very important. And that would dictate the speed based on these breakers right here. And somewhere in here, oh, there it is. It's over there. And there's your resistor grid right there. That's where all the energy that comes off of this guy goes when it's going backwards. These things can get red hot. And this is a little tiny one. Your depth gauge would have been right there. It'd have a big dial indicator right there to tell you your depth. Now, most time there'd be a seat here for the operator to sit down because, you know, he's not going to stand up all day. And he'd wait for the bell. Usually the bell would be over there. I can see the pulley on the wall. I don't see the skip car. That's nice. That head frame. Ooh, he's listing pretty hard. Look at that. See the little pulley right here? They probably would have had a cable here for the bell. The bell was probably back here somewhere. Oh, you can see where the shaft is collapsing underneath the building. You see that? All this is falling in. Oh, and that's one of the stopes right there too. Ooh, almost looks like they had a chute right here. You see that? To feed down into here. Maybe they did so they can get it up into that chute. And then of course there's the Crown Point Mill down there too. It's an old tie spike. Yeah, a little baby one. That's pretty cool. Ooh, they got some good looking ore around here too. You see that? There's the main shaft. Oh, that's nasty. Yeah, you can see how soft that rock is. That's not even solid. Look at that. Eventually all of this is going to come down onto that. And there's your water and your air lines going down in there. See where they have them insulated? Because it gets bone cold out here in the wintertime. See how they dumped that skip car riding up the track? As it went up, the front would dip, the outer wheels would catch that outer rail, and it would dump. And then when it dumped down, if it kept going up, the front wheels would catch that other set of rails to make it push forward completely. Pretty cool, huh? And then they just release it, and it would come back down, and the front wheels would ride on this inner rail, and it would be back into position. Oh yeah, look at that. All that timbering is gone. It's just completely collapsed. Everything. You can't even squeeze it. Well, you might be able to squeeze into that. And you can see where
it's all completely filled in because it's so soft.
When you're out in the field and you find these ore bins, especially these large production mines, look at the ore bins. See if there's any ore left that's stuffed inside of them, because chances are they never finished processing it. You can go through and look for high-grade specimens. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be in there every time, but it's always a good place to look. And you can take soil samples in there and pan it out to see if there's any free mill loose gold in there, fine gold that's come off a lot of this rock. So we're going to go ahead and bring some material and see if there's any gold in it.
This is all beautiful stockworks of quartz in here. Got some of the wall rock in there. Look at the mineralization in that one. Oh, that's beautiful. This is a nice one right here. I'll take that one. Yeah, we'll gather up some samples and see what's in it.
Now you know what these gates are when you see them on ore chutes. They're called chute gates. You have one here and you have one here. Makes it so much easier to control the flow. Where's the old man at? There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, old man, how the heck are you?
Good, man, good.
You guys doing okay? All right. That's the way to travel.
is where the Cornish pump sat. Actually, the flywheel and part of the arm. Main shaft was here. Of course, it's been filled in. And the hoisting works are right there. They came through and they bulldozed this shut. Why? Because it goes down 3,000 feet. That's why. And the main hoist was sitting here. And of course, the compressor sat over here. And just look at the scale of the bolts that they're using. You can see that they were using saws to cut some of this. See how smooth that is? You can see where the teeth were hitting here. And they were cutting it with saw, and they were using feathers and wedges too. It's amazing the amount of infrastructure that they had to build to drop a shaft 3,000 feet to support the Yellow Jacket west shaft. And of course, you guys are familiar with the fire that they had. That was one of the reasons why they were promoting the Sutro Tunnel so much, is to create ventilation. And they had to drill the holes so they could run these bolts through, and the bolts would hold this entire mass together. And of course, you know that during the war, World War II, a lot of the scrappers came through, and they took a lot of this equipment, all those cast iron, everything. They just cut off as much as they could for the war effort, because they got paid by the pound. That's why there's hardly anything left anymore, because the scrappers came through. Imagine what this would have looked like if nobody had touched it. Look at this channel that they cut in the rock. I'm not 100% sure what this channel is used for, if it was for water diversion or what. Here's where they're using feathers and wedges, see that? To cut that, but look where they put that channel at. All the way around. I think that's for water diversion. And look at these shims. Big old metal shims they put in here to balance out this rock on top of the base rock. And it all had to be bolted together. Look at the size of this thing. It's a monster. Oh, look at all the holes in the rock. I wonder what that was for. Jeez, imagine the huge hoisting works that sat here. I know, enough jaw jacking. Get on to finding us a way into that mine, Jeff. I can hear it from here. Whole bunch of flat cable that they were using that was very prominent here in the Virginia City mines. And there it is. Can you see it? That is the other opening. They tried to hide it and plug it with bushes, but we're gonna go take a look. There's some more of that flat steel cable, see it? This is what they were using to hoist up with. Look at that. They liked it because it was stronger and it wouldn't twist. It was just another innovation that they did here on the Comstock lode. So many new technologies were developed specifically for this mining district because they encountered so many unusual environments. They had to invent square set timbering because of the huge stopes and the very soft ground. They had to bring out Cornish pumps to handle the millions of gallons of water that had to be removed daily. They came up with flat cable because round cable at those depths would have too much twist to it and it wouldn't have as much strength. So many different things. This was the mecca of mining. So I'm gonna get on down there and I'm gonna see if I can stick my head in there and see if it does connect, because that's the rumor. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing dicier than going down mine dump, especially if they got sulfides in them, because they can get hard and you go for a ride. Like that one. I think I found it. I think I found it. Look at this. Look at this. Somebody didn't want me in here. And there's a cable going into it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get into this one, so we're gonna head back up.
at the size of this monker.
BLM spared no expense putting this in. Holy cow. Look at that. It's a gargantuous structure they built as a plug. And they did a really good job. I'm gonna have to hire them. Just look at this thing. Wow. Man, the construction on this is fantastic. Look at the size of those nuts. Woo, there's the hoisting works there. Cut out of this andesite. You see this andesite? Quarried right out of there. Look at the size. There's my hand for size comparison. Look at that. Jeez. Man, this thing is a monster. And look at the beautiful craftsmanship on this. Wow, you got to hand it to BLM. I'm truly impressed on this structure. I really am. Now, I usually don't commend BLM on putting these gates over the top of these shafts, but if you're watching BLM, you guys did a really good job on this one. I mean, I am impressed. Phenomenal. I just can't imagine how much money you guys dumped into this thing. Beautiful archwork here. The railing that goes across. The chain work. It's incredible. It really is. And for good reason too. Because the hole that's underneath me, that monker goes down a long ways. I'll do a rock test so you guys can hear this. But this thing looks like it goes down a good, I don't know, I want to say about 2,000, 2,500 feet based on just the mine dump that I'm seeing here. All right, I'm going to do a rock test so we can hear what's inside. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. Man, that goes, that's just a straight shot into nothing. It's like standing over the top of the Grand Canyon. All right, let me get a rock, throw it in there. All right, we got a bigger rock. Let's see if I can get some noise. All right, shh. Ready? Now there's a plug. Man, this thing is massive. It's a monster! What the heck is that? I didn't call the fire department. Hey, where's the fire at? Oh, what are you guys doing out here? Having fun?
Yeah, just hanging out.
I asked for a pizza and look what they sent me. I don't believe it. These guys are out exploring, having fun just like we are, and they want to learn as much as anybody else. So, you know, I got to give them credit. But you know what? They told me they know something, and they want to tell me, so we're all going to say it together. So you know what I'm going to say, right? So come on! Let's go! We were out cruising around looking for more places to find mineralization, and look who we ran into. What's your name and what's this all about?
Tom Bledsoe. I'm out riding dirt bikes out in the Wild West out here, living on the road, loving America, and watching your guys' channel. And it got me into gold mine, not gold mining, but learning about mines. Had it not been for your channel, I wouldn't have cared less.
Wow.
It's amazing.
I gotta ask, what was the video that you saw that got your attention? Was it Golden Home Depot sand? No.
No.
Everybody loves that
I
video.
have watched that one. You know, I really don't remember. It's been so long.
Had to be a drift mine video. Everybody loves a drift mine.
But there was the Slim.
Yeah.
It was in there, and it's just your humor.
Oh.
You know, and your personality.
What, am I funny or something?
And then when I heard you know a lot or are a geologist, I thought that's amazing. Now I watched several other channels, and then you're going into mines, old mines. That's the best.
Oh, I love going into mines, and I like taking you guys with us too and teaching you geology. So I hope you're learning something on this video. I'm doing my best. If you don't find gold after watching my videos, you take up the crochet or knit needle or something like that.
You won't be able to. You just can't find it if you can't find it after watching yours. It's
I love to hear that. So anyway, we're gonna get out and start exploring. And I saw him. I'm like, hey, I see a motorcycle. I'm gonna see if I can go riding with this guy.
Come on back.
Yeah, no. So come on.
Let's
go.
That yellow material is referred to as propylite. It's basically altered andesite. And a lot of the ore was actually nestled inside of that. Now, there was no rhyme or reason as to where the ore was actually at. It was like plums in a plum pudding or raisins in raisin bread. It was distributed all throughout this altered andesite. So they would constantly have to drop shafts and have raises and winzes and exploratories trying to find the rich ore bodies. Well, the CNC shaft was responsible for finding one of the largest bonanzas ore bodies that was ever recovered on the Comstock lode. But I wanted you to see the size and scale of these mine dumps. This was all dug out by hand, okay? And this is one out of many mine dumps throughout the entire area. It just shows you how tough the men were back in the day to be able to work 3,000 to 4,000 feet underground in 130-degree temperatures and hauling out tons of ore per day for years. And here it is. These are the foundations to the great CNC shaft. Massive foundations for the pumps and the hoisting works. Just mind-boggling. And there's all the mine dumps over there in the background of propylite, which is basically altered andesite. And there it is. That's the shaft, the main shaft to the CNC shaft. It's hard to tell, but that drops down 3,500 feet. Now, everything's been pulled out and scrapped for the war effort during World War II. But there was a massive shaft here, 3-compartment, went down 3,500 feet. The mine dumps over here are absolutely mind-boggling to think that they dug this out by hand. This is something that most people don't think about, but I do because I've worked in mines before, is that when it's super cold out, like it does get up here in Virginia City, and you're working down there where it's hot and humid, especially in the Comstock lode, where it's 130-degree water coming out of those drill holes for the dynamite, you're working in your underwear, basically, and you're sweating to death. And then you hop on the safety cage to go up to the surface, and it's freezing out here, you'll get pneumonia real fast. And a lot of the head frames weren't covered. And if they were, they had to remove it because after the fire over at the Yellow Jacket mine, a law was passed stating that you couldn't have any type of structures over the head frame in case the fire came up the shaft and caught the head frame on fire. It wouldn't catch everything else on fire and burn down the rest of the town. So they took all the structures and buildings off of the head frame. So when you come up out of that shaft, it's freezing out here and you got to hurry and get to the dry before you catch pneumonia. And I'll see you on the next video.